coming over to the party soon? You're gonna be ready?
Yeah, I just need my costume. Cheeto.
Yeah!
I didn't know this costume was so dangerous!
You don't look so delicious!
Dangerously cheesy.
Attention residents, welcome to the lottery spin. Jordan to Delta, you're moving out to the islands, transported to the world's last paradise.
I think they're gonna kill you.
I'm going to the island.
There is no island! Come on!
2 of our products have escaped.
Do not let him get away!
What was that?
I don't know!
But I want one.
Hold on!
This summer,
Tell me what's going on!
They're gonna come looking for you. Good job!
You're copies of people. So one of them gets sick and they need a new part, they take it from you.
I'm sorry, I'm not ready to die.
from Michael Bay,
How come we never did this before?
the director of The Rock and Armageddon.
That tongue thing is amazing.
I know you're new to this whole human thing, but backpacks for boys, purses for girls. Understand?
We're not idiots.
Well, excuse me, miss. I'm so smart I can't wait to go to the island.
Ewan McGregor,
I just want to live. I don't care how.
Scarlett Johansson,
Don't try me like it!
You still think there's an island?
New Line Cinema presents a startling new vision from the director of The Crow. On the edge of reality, and the threshold of illusion, lies a world beyond all imagination.
They call them strangers. This city, everyone in it is their experiment. They mix and match our memories.
No way out! Take your seat!
Dark City, rated R, starts Friday, February 27th.
It's not weird. It's Halloween. Get everyone in on the fun with over 5,000 total costumes in store and at Kmart.com.
Wake up.
And there we go. Hello, everybody. I like Anastasia's like, no, screw Donnie Darko. She's
No, it was the complete opposite. I was like, that's when I fell in love with him.
Okay.
Oh.
I didn't know your head was to the side like,
I was just swooning. That's what swoon looks like.
It is. But welcome, everybody, to the final episode of Pop Pop Con Con 2020. Maybe we'll come back and do this again in 2021. Ooh. I am Sean. I am one half of Pop Cycle Bobbles. My lovely wife Laura will be in the chat room chatting with you. And we put this all together this entire weekend as a big celebration of not only conventions, but specifically fan conventions, places where you go and you talk with a bunch of people and you talk about your favorite things. This is one of those moments and one of those things that I have missed out so sorely because of just 2020 being an absolute 2020. Am I right? I mean, whew, like, I love the fact that as soon as we get out of this year, we're going to start referring to 2020 like that was just so 2020. And so as part of that, we decided, hey, let's open up our online store, and we'll just use that kind of like as an excuse to put on this really great production, 16 panels. We've gotten through every single one except for this final one that I wanted to keep because I love talking about movies that have just flown under the radar for whatever reason. This is the best movies you've probably not seen. And with us today, to my immediate screen left, is somebody that you've seen a couple times over the past couple of days. She is awesome. I like to count her as a new friend, and that is, of course, Anastasia Washington. Anastasia, please say hello and let them know just a little bit about you, please.
Hi, I'm Anastasia. I am an actress and comedian and podcaster, ranging from anything from true crime to paranormal to comedy. I podcast about and filmmaker, and that's it. I think. I don't know. I try things. I do things.
Just one or two things, right?
Do a thing.
Hey, but you know what? You get to literally live as a creative professional. That's a really cool thing to do.
And I am blessed to be living as a creative professional, which is
absolutely
very nice.
Yeah. And somebody else who is very much a creative person. We were just talking about the fact that how much they're lamenting how they can't get as creative as they normally do. She is somebody who has actually been with us on the road with Pop Cycle. She has been on a number of panels, especially today. And that, of course, is my good buddy Corrine. Corrine, say hello, introduce yourself, and let them know about you.
Hello, I'm Corrine. I'm very tired, so please forgive me if I sound a little off tonight. I am a cosplayer, writer, new to podcasting. I like to say I am also a recovering academic, so that is a lot of my background, and just an overall nerd in general.
Absolutely. And to her screen left is finally wrapping out our panel is my good buddy Gary. You've seen him on a number of panels, but I always want to just say a thank you to him and also to Joe Crow. Every year they let me show up at the American Sci-Fi Classics track at Dragon Con, and they pretty much give me carte blanche. If I just want to roll in and come up with a random panel, they'll let me do it. In fact, I came up with one last year that was so off the wall. People who watch our stream know about trifling. I pitched trifling as a panel, and it had one of the craziest reactions to the people who showed up to that a guy laughed so hard he threw out his back. And that's when we knew we had hit on Anastasia, it's a whole story. But we had hit on such a winning formula that Gary's like, you have to do it again. And without that, we never would have discovered trifling. So Gary, thank you so much for letting me do that. Please say hello to everybody and let them know a little bit about you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Gary Mitchell. I can be found here. I can never get this right. Here on the Twitter at Gary_Mitchell, Mitchell with one L. I am as Sean said, the co-director of the American. Well, the hair is getting crazy. I'm the co-director of the American Sci-Fi Classics track at Dragon Con. I am a writer, reviewer, podcaster, blushing debutante, and a movie file since before I could walk. I love movies. So this was one I had to be on.
You know what? That's okay.
Look pretty.
Vanity is sometimes you need to have it, and you know what? You look pretty. You're very pretty. So
everyone looks real pretty.
Yeah,
Everyone's
absolutely.
so
Yeah, Corrine, for somebody who says I'm very tired, you're looking on point. You sound on point, so you're good.
Very tired.
So yeah, she is. Seriously, I put Corrine through the ringer today. I didn't realize it, but basically every panel that Corrine was on was today. So she from noon has been going, and I'm so thankful that she has been, because quite frankly, Corrine, you brought some really great stuff and really good energy this weekend, and frankly, everybody who's been on these panels have been. So I do want to say thank you, because I'm kind of in shock that we're at the end of it here. But that's not what we're going to talk about yet. We'll wait till the end of the panel for that. We're going to talk about some movies that for some reason, either because it was not very well advertised or because people just didn't get it in the time it was released, we're talking about some of the best movies you've never seen. And if you caught the pre-roll, you saw a lot of examples. Now, we're not going to talk about all of them. Those are just some that I like to refer people to because I enjoy them. And I think we'd be remiss without going back to the one that literally started us off here, which would have been Donnie Darko. Anastasia, your face, you're like, I'm just swooning. Let's talk about
swooning.
I know. Let's talk about Donnie Darko and why it's such a great movie that, frankly, a lot of people have missed. I mean, still to this day, I'm amazed at how many people have not seen this movie.
Really?
Yes.
I think when I was coming up with, I was thinking of like movies to talk about on this panel, I was like, I feel like my friends see a lot of obscure stuff, and so I had to like try to think outside of my friend group because you know. But Donnie Darko is the language of LA, pretty much. Like we quoted a lot, and angsty '90s, early 2000s, like teenagers. Like Donnie Darko spoke to our soul, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
And I did. You were advertising the director's cut with all the I went and saw that because I love him.
Well, I mean, it's also like, I mean, it's an incredible debut from Richard Kelly. I mean, Richard Kelly pretty much exploded onto the scene. And one of the things that I am sad about with this is that he's so misunderstood that if you watch a lot of his other movies, one that I love to tell people about, and is again in that Donnie Darko vein, is Southland Tales. And it is a very misunderstood movie. And it's one that I sat down, and it was one of those movies I sat down and I said, okay, I want to watch this because it's the Donnie Darko guy. And I finished it and I said, and you know it's a movie that's going to get me when this is my response. I think I like that. And I have to ask myself, and I have to take a step away. Have you ever had that experience, guys, where you know you liked it, but you can't quite quantify why you like it yet?
I more have that one where it's like, I don't know how to feel. Like I had that with Red State. I don't know if anybody saw Red
the
State.
Kevin Smith movie.
Yeah.
State.
After it, I was like, I don't know how I feel about anything right now. I feel very like hurt, abused, yay, no. I was just all over the place. So I feel like, I think Kevin Smith does that to me though. Like he did that with Yoga Hosers too. And I was like, I don't know.
But you know, I'll give you credit on one thing. I think Red State was the last. Yeah, I think Red State was the last time Kevin really like took a swing. I mean, he really took a swing on that movie.
I think Tusk. I think he tried with Tusk.
I mean, he did something with Tusk. I'm sorry.
He tried.
I've seen it. I watched it. No, thank you. No,
but the thing with Tusk, though, is that Tusk is all about a joke because he read an article. If you've listened to the podcast, he literally comes up with the whole plot of the movie in the span of like 2 hours while he's talking to his buddy Scott Mosier. And he made exactly that movie. So when I look at that, I'm like, he put no thought to this. Whereas Red State, to me, feels like he's really trying to make a commentary on how he perceives rural cultures and how that could scare him. And I kind of thought that was a really interesting take. So I think Red State's actually a great example of a movie that a lot of people probably haven't taken a chance on because they're like, Kevin Smith. I mean,
but you will be disturbed, like utterly.
It is a horror movie. It really is.
It's like watching Waco again. Like not like movies about Waco, but like I was quite young when Waco happened, but I do remember seeing Waco on like, you know, like on the TV. Like I was probably too young to be watching it, but I was watching the stuff unfold, and that's how it felt.
Absolutely, yeah. So Corrine, how about you? Like, what are your thoughts on like Red State? And since we're talking about Kevin Smith, and we'll get back to Donnie Darko later if you want to, but like, what are some of your thoughts on some of those shots that he's taken?
So, I don't like Red State. I have a lot of. I just don't. I think that it tries to be two different movies at the same time, and neither of them work all the way for me. I think if I was going to talk about like kind of an underrated Kevin Smith movie, like first of all, Dogma, which I think I think a lot of people in our kind of who are into genre stuff watch, but I don't know how many people outside of that have seen it because I think it's his best work. And also, is it Zach and Miri Make a Porno?
Oh yes.
Yeah, the one he did with Rogan
is very very underrated. I think that's a fantastic movie, and no one has seen it, but it's great. It's absolutely great. So that's where I stand on it.
You know what the sin of that movie is he had the audacity to put the word porno in the title.
He did, and that's what it's about.
And I know he had all kinds of marketing issues around the country because when that movie came out, that was what, 2010, 2011, I think?
Something like that.
Something ballpark like that. He had a hard time getting the company, the studio had a hard time getting it into theaters because, you know, people in Michigan or in Wyoming, they're like, we're not putting on our marquee porno. So they had to condense it. So it was just called Zach and Miri. And that doesn't really convey what it's about. I mean, it is truth in advertising. It's called Zach and Miri Make a Porno. It is exactly what happens in the movie. And it's hilarious. I think, I'm sorry, please.
No, I think that people went into it I think when they heard the title, they expected far more raunchiness, and that movie has some raunchy moments. I'm not gonna lie, but it has a surprising amount of heart in it that I think is something that Kevin Smith, when he does it well, he really gets it. But sometimes it's been lacking in a lot of his later films after that, I think.
Yeah.
So.
I think his most recent one, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, I think was actually a pretty nice return to form for him.
I haven't seen it.
There's without spoiling anything, a lot of it is just him kind of repeating some of his old jokes, and quite frankly, it's a bunch of actors who at this point they've been playing the same roles for so long. It's just like they're kind of phoning it in. But right about that 3/4 mark, and again, that's not a bad thing. There's still a big market for that in my heart for that movie. But at the 3/4 mark, there's this moment where the main characters realize that they have this emotional tie to one of the new people they brought into the movie, and they realize that their entire driving force now is to be connected and bonded with them. And the whole movie becomes a metaphor about how our children and how the things that we, breathe into this world, whether it be creatively or an actual child, is how we go on. It is the reboot because we get to see our lives through them all over again. And then we get to see that happen again through their children and so on and so forth. And that was really poignant to me, especially because he wrote this, as he had gone through his heart attack, and he realized that if I don't start just writing and doing the stuff that I love, I'm never going to get it done. And he was like, screw it, we're doing another Jay and Silent Bob movie. And that last 20-30 minutes earns, in my opinion, a really great gold star. But the first 75% of it has varying degrees of diminishing returns. And if you're a big Kevin Smith fan, you'll probably laugh your ass off. And if you're a medium or less than big Kevin Smith fan, be prepared for a little unevenness. So, Gary, how about you? I want to give you a chance. We were talking about Donnie Darko, Kevin Smith. What are some that you were thinking of, or if you have any opinions on any of that, feel free.
As a guy who hit my 20s in the 90s, I was, the Kevin Smith crowd. I was the movie fan. Now I was the audience he was talking to. I fell in love with Clerks when it came out. I followed him all the way through. I agree that I think Dogma is probably his best movie. And I agree that Red State was, I think, the last time he really tried to do something new and different and maybe a little bit beyond his reach. And for me, I think it's kind of sad that he's gone, okay, well, that didn't work. So he's backtracked to what's comfortable. But, I'm just glad he's still alive and he's still making movies. So, and that's pretty much my Kevin Smith opinion. I mean, I enjoyed 90% of his work, and I'm glad he's still here.
Okay, so let's pivot then, and let's talk about some movies that we haven't brought up yet. What's like a really good suggestion of a flick that you love, and whenever you talk to people about it, they just have never heard of it, and why do you love it so much?
Starting with me, okay?
Yeah, we're with you, buddy.
All right. Well, I have show and tell.
Okay,
you always have props. I love it.
I
love it. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah.
Right. This little gem from 1984.
Oh, yeah.
Streets of Fire. Streets of Fire is one of my absolute favorite movies. It totally tanked at the box office, but it is a sort of modern day fantasy. The movie opens up with the title card, Another Time, Another Place. It's diesel punk before diesel punk was a thing. It stars Michael Pare, Diane Lane, Amy Madigan. William Dafoe is the villain. Rick Moranis is in it, and he gets to beat somebody up. Rick Moranis,
which he needs to right now because
Bill Paxton is in it. It is just...
Come on, Gary, you're bearing the lead. What's the big thing that you take away from this movie? Come on, what is it?
It's directed by Walter Hill. You got to do the lead up before you get to the final throwaway. The main reason you want to watch this is it has music by Jim effing Steinman.
Yes, it is a musical. It is a 2-hour-long Jim Steinman musical.
Yes. The basic plot is Michael Prare's character used to date this lady who's gone on to become a huge rock star from their little punk no-name town. She's come back home to do one concert with her, where she came from. And William Dafoe kidnaps her because he's William Dafoe.
Right.
not William the Friend. And
I see what you did there, sir.
Thank you. And the movie opens up with the concert. It shows you the bona fides. It's got this 50s vibe with these street gangs. Amy Madigan's character, McCoy, was originally written as a man. And she just nails this part as the tough as nails sidekick. And it's basically, we have to go rescue the girl, the adventure, the fight. It ends with a fight between William Dafoe and Michael Pereira in the street with sledgehammers.
Yes.
And again, the music, though, the only thing most people remember from it is the one song that made it into the charts in the 80s is I Can Dream About You. I can dream about you.
Yeah.
No, home tonight.
I can't sing, so I'm not going there. But.
I remember that.
It is.
Yeah. That's from this movie. Yeah.
Yeah, that's from this movie. It is a rock and roll fable. It is it's a joy. It is an absolute joy. The set design, the characters, the writing, there isn't a bad minute of this movie.
Yeah,
100% you can get a Steelbook collector's edition.
Okay, we're going to go full screen so they can see it full screen. Here you go, buddy.
35th anniversary collector's edition Steelbook from our good friends at Shout Factory. I will take payment and product.
Absolutely. No, seriously, if you've not seen Streets of Fire, put that on your to watch list. I guarantee you're going to have fun with that. If you like rock musicals, if you like Jim Steinman or the music, and I hate to say it like this, but the music of Meatloaf, because that's what most people associate with Jim Steinman. Seriously, it's the easiest way to make people make that connection, because a lot of people.
I'm all about Meatloaf life.
I know, right? Like seriously, but seriously, it's so good.
Yeah, this is Bonnie Tyler style Jim Steinman Meatloaf. The other one to kind of compare it to is when Celine Dion did her version of It's All Coming Back to Me Now.
Yeah.
If those are the kind of power ballads that grab you, you will love this movie. It opens with one, it closes with one. I always loved Jim Steinman in one interview. He said, if I could ever figure out how to write a song under 3 minutes long, I'd be a millionaire.
Right.
Because all of his songs are like 10-minute epics.
It's so good.
It's phenomenal. It's a great director. It's a fantastic cast. I'm kind of repeating myself now, but it's okay. Great.
Yeah,
I love it to pieces.
And
there's a sequel. I haven't seen it because it was crowdfunded, and looks like it's like 90% green screen. Which nothing against that. Do what you got to do, but the trailers did not do it any favors.
That's fair. So the movie that I was going to start off with, I was going back and forth. I was like, do I want to go sci-fi? Do I want to go kitschy? And I actually landed on one that every single time I mention this movie to people, they're like, what in the hell are you talking about? And it's actually a movie from the early 90s. And it has Patricia Arquette in it. It has Christian Slater. It is directed by Tony Scott. It came out in 1993. Christopher Walken, Gary Oldman, and it actually, I think, is the very first appearance of Brad Pitt in the film. I think it did predate Thelma and Louise. I'm not quite sure on that, so don't hold it to me. I'm talking about True Romance.
Oh, yes.
I love True Romance. And I tell people about this movie, and they're like, what kind of cocaine what was the creative team on when they wrote this film? And the funny part is that it wasn't cocaine. It was Quentin Tarantino trying to get a job. Because that's what people don't realize, is that this was before people trusted Quentin Tarantino with making movies.
He was still working in a video store, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was writing these scripts in a video store, and he sold them, and that gave him just enough clout where he could go off and make not The Usual Suspect. That's Bryan Singer. Reservoir Dogs. My brain, it went to the right there for a second. And he was able to go and make Reservoir Dogs. But the funny part is that by the time Reservoir Dogs came out, True Romance was already in production. And it came out after Tarantino started making his name. So Pulp Fiction, if I remember correctly, comes out within like 6 months of True Romance. And people are like, wait, there's a Quentin Tarantino script that's hard-boiled and amazing and awesome, and we don't know about it. And it's like, yeah, that's exactly what this is. And it's Tony Scott. I mean, Tony Scott's amazing. And it was such a loss when he died, but you have Christian Slater at peak hotness. I mean, I don't care if you're gay, straight, somewhere in between, pansexual, asexual. Everybody has to appreciate a good Christian Slater, right? You know what I'm saying, right? You got to appreciate a good Christian Slater. And then Patricia Arquette, again, peak hotness, just rolling in. And it's such a sweet story. It's basically about two people who immediately have an attraction towards each other. And the relationship is based on a quasi-lie that comes out very quickly in the relationship. And they decide to basically steal about I think it was either $500,000 or $1 million worth of cocaine from a drug dealer that they murdered to protect Patricia Arquette, and they decide to go to Los Angeles and make their bones in Hollywood, either promoting or selling their cocaine or getting involved in the movie scene, and how it all goes to pot. And it is such a fun freaking movie. I cannot recommend this one to you enough. Dennis Hopper shows up in it as Christian Slater's dad. It's a great moment. James Gandolfini as the heavy, kind of like going around trying to find them. I mean, this is so much fun. It is a little bit on the gory side. It is in that era where everything was super close-ups and kind of makes you want to cringe a little bit. So, if you have foot trauma, like a bullet or like a knife, or in this case, there's a corkscrew that goes through somebody's foot, they kind of linger on it a bit. But that's kind of what they did in the early 90s. So as long as you know that going in, you can very easily accept the kind of over the topness of this movie. And it is so much fun. The music is amazing. It has one of the greatest themes. If you've ever heard the True Romance theme, it's light, it's bubbly. It is very much in contrast to the darkness of the movie. Cannot recommend this enough. But that would be my suggestion. And I do hope that you'll go try that out. How about you, Corrine? What's one that you love? Why do you love it? And why do you suggest it?
I made a list for this panel, and there are so many things on it. So I'm gonna try to do maybe an older movie and a newer movie.
Sure. Yeah.
So my older movie is one that big horror fans that I've talked to have not seen this one, and I'm sure everybody here has. But it was made after the vampire craze with Fright Night and the Lost Boys came out.
Okay.
And there was one that just doesn't get the same amount of attention as they do, and it's Near Dark from 1987. Yeah, it's directed by Catherine Bigelow, who who went on to do like Zero Dark 30 or whatever. I can't say names.
No, she did. Strange Days. Strange Days.
Point Break. I mean. So this is like her first, I think, solo film that she directed. And it's got, the cast is incredible. It's got Lance Hendrickson, it's got Bill Paxton, it's got Jeanette Goldstein, all from Aliens. And this movie was, of course, made before that. But it's a fantastic vampire movie. And what I love about it is that it's a Western with vampires. And I feel like this is a theme for me this weekend, is just let me tell you about my favorite non-Western Westerns. But
and I love it.
It's completely true. It's completely true.
It's a fantastic, Old West where this kid, teen gets bitten by a lady vampire and ends up falling in with this brutal, awful vampire gang. And it's a really fun story. It's very gory. It's very dark. You get a lot of elements, I think, that are missing from some of the more popular vampire films, just because it's got that really kind of gross edge to it in a lot of places. It's very visceral, but in a not in a gratuitous way, I would say.
Well, so they're not sexy. They're not like Interview with the Vampire sexy, because Interview with the Vampire has some good gore moments. They're not even Lost Boys sexy. Yeah, they're not even Lost Boys sexy. They're vicious. They're not Chris Sarandon sexy from Fright Night. No. No. And brutal creatures. Yeah. And I love it. I just think it's great, and it's one of those things that I wish a lot of horror fans would go back and revisit and watch, because every time I tell someone about it, I'm like, oh yeah, Near Dark, and they're like, what? And I'm like, oh, okay, let me tell you this thing I love. The thing I love about Near Dark that I think so many people who appreciate vampire and good horror movies miss out on with this movie is the fact that this movie leans into the brutality of what it would be to be a vampire. And that's something that we romanticize, the living forever and the seduction of, the person who they're trying to bring into them. We got to drink blood, not a big deal. This movie, the blood drink, they bite into somebody and it sprays everywhere. Bill Paxton at one point is on a bar with just gore all down his chest, and he's just like, "How do you like me now?" And it's gnarly. And it is like the weirdest family road trip movie you'll also watch because they're in like this blacked out Winnebago.
Yeah, very, very true.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the fact that they never use the word vampire through the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that they don't have fangs, which is why it gets so gory, because they have to find different ways to get the blood out of people.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite thing is after Twilight went big, it got a video re-release where they did the poster with the main guy kind of pale and looking in the dark, very Twilighty, and the lady. And I was like, oh, someone's going to buy this and they're not going to be ready.
Yeah, they're walking into a whole world of hurt. Oh, that's great. But no, I mean, seriously, that is a phenomenal choice. Yeah, Near Dark does not get the love. The closest I could draw a comparison to that people might have seen would be 30 Days of Night.
That's I was going to compare it to 30 Days of Night because that is another underrated film too, I think. But more people have seen that one.
Yeah, but that brutality of the vampire, if you like that in 30 Days of Night, Near Dark is basically your granddaddy that you haven't met yet.
Yeah,
I mean that.
How did you know? Oh.
Is that right? Like, how did you know who I was?
How did you know that I didn't know my granddaddy? Oh.
Anastasia's triggered, like, I'm out. No, absolutely. Well, Anastasia, speaking of which, let's talk about one. What's a movie that you love that people just miss?
So I have like 5 on my list, so I'm gonna try to go.
Bring them all.
Okay. I'm gonna go Enemy Mine because
yes.
Because every time I quote it all the time, I'll be like, "Do I make fun of your god, Mickey Mouse?" And everyone's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, I don't know. I guess you guys never saw Enemy Mine. But I grew up watching that because many youngsters will not get this. But when you were younger, the videos that you had are the videos you watched over and over again. That became your establishing repertoire of movies.
That was your library, yeah.
That was your library, and I happened to have Enemy Mine on Veda, and I watched it over and over and over again, and that was I don't know, little kid me loved it so much, just so much, and I just every time I quote it or mention it, people are like, I don't know what you're talking about, and I'm sad a little bit.
It's such a unique science fiction film too, especially for the time, that I think that's probably why people. It's not what you expect when you go into a sci-fi film. Especially in that time, you wanted action, you wanted adventure, and this is it's a character drama is really what it is. And I love that about it. I think it's a great movie for that fact. So I think that's a great pick. I'm all on board.
The relationships, I don't know. It's very emotional and I loved it. And this is the weird thing is this is when E.T. was popular, right? And to me, I respect E.T. for what it was worth, but coming from Enemy Mine, I was like, no, it's not as entertaining.
Well, I mean, we actually talked about Enemy Mine last night for one of our late night panels. We did. I went into an impassioned, almost tearful speech about the fact that when you have that moment where Zamming. By the way, let me contextualize for people. Enemy Mine, real quick, is basically about a Cold War between these aliens called Drax, which are asexual lizard-like beings, played by Louis Gossett Jr. and Dennis Quaid, who's part of the Human Federation, and they crash land on a planet and they have to survive together. Halfway through the movie, Louis Gossett Jr. gives birth to his offspring, and passes away. And so Dennis Quaid now has to basically live with this little Drac baby, trying to raise it, and they name it Zamus. And there's a whole thing about the naming convention, which it really tugs at your heartstrings. And there's a moment after they play football where they're sitting around, they're laughing and they're panting. And Zamus is looking at Dennis Quaid's hands and he goes, "Uncle, when will I get my 2 more fingers?" And that's how he talks. He talks very broken English. And Dennis Quaid has to explain to him, he's like, "You're never going to get 2 more fingers. You're a Drac. That's how you look." And Zamus is despondent. He's like, "You're beautiful and I'm ugly." And there's this wonderful moment. And I always remember talking to to my friend Rent when we talk about sci-fi movies. He talked about that movie hit him so hard because he was a very dark-skinned black man, and he always saw beautiful white people on screen. And when he sees them and he looks at himself, he's like, well, I don't know if I'm beautiful. And, you know, and that movie resonated with him because he said that's what I felt like in that moment, because he's like, I'm not beautiful like you. And the thing that I love about that movie is that Dennis Quaid tells him, he goes, I know for a fact that you are very attractive for a drac. And he goes, you are gorgeous and beautiful, and I love you, and I am uncle, and nobody's ever going to talk shit about you. And if they do, I'm going to kick their ass. And
I think maybe that's why I kind of have a little bit, you know, I'm light-skinned. My dad was a black man. And I make jokes about it in my stand-up about how woke I had to be as a child when I was walking down the street with my dad. If I threw a tantrum, people be like, that black man is kidnapping that little child.
Ooh, yeah.
But you know, there is an identity crisis that I probably like went through and processed better because of this film, because I didn't look quote unquote like my dad, even though I do. I look like my dad, but like quote unquote enough like my dad. And so, I mean, you know, sci-fi helps again.
It does, and it breaks your heart when you get to this scene, because this little boy that they got in this makeup, I think it was a little boy. It might have been a little girl, but I'm pretty sure it was a boy.
Well, aren't they?
They're
well, no, I mean like the actual actor in the makeup. Like this kid just they emote right through the makeup, and like there's just tears, and like you are a cold, unfeeling son of a bitch if you don't get moved by this scene. And then it gets worse because somebody actually tries to hurt Xanis, and that's when Dennis Quaid basically goes John Wick on the galaxy. It's awesome. Go watch.
And I love
this
a
movie.
Quaid. I love Quaid.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I
love
love
a
that.
Quaid on The Boys. I love a Quaid on Emmett. I love a Quaid.
I love
we
Quaid
get
in
you a
Interspace.
Quaid-lude.
I am in a Quaid-lude. Exactly.
You're Quaid curious.
I'm Quaid curious all the time.
Okay, so Gary, what's another one for you? So we start with Streets of Fire. What's the next one for you, buddy?
All right, so I'm torn because I don't know if we're going to get to the third one. So I'm going to.
You know what? This is the last panel. We can go as long as we want to. I don't care. I don't want this to end yet.
All right. Well, I'm still going with this one, which is another obscure favorite of mine. I stumbled across this on cable in the late 80s. Just you know, I miss kind of doing that. I was a teenager. I was staying up until 3, 4, 5 in the morning, even though I had to go to school because I'm a nut. And just seeing the weird stuff that would pop up on Cinemax and HBO.
Right.
And this one is a wonderful little thriller, a delicious little ditty called I, Madman.
I remember I, Madman. Yeah.
The basic gist. Do you want to full screen it, Sean?
Oh, yeah, sure. Give me a second. Sorry about that. Boop, there you go.
I, Madman.
There you go. Yeah, it's called I, Madman. Yeah.
The basic gist is our lady here works in a used bookstore, and she is obsessed with old, pulpy horror romance, but mainly horror. And she's living, I think, in LA. She's just trying to live her life working in this bookstore, and she comes across this book called I, Madman, which is about this scientist doctor who sees this woman, falls madly in love with her, but she won't have anything to do with him, and so he figures it's because of his looks. So he starts murdering people, and he's a plastic surgeon, and it's like she loves a Roman nose, so he kills this guy with a big nose and cuts it off the guy's face and sews it onto his own. And so she's reading this book and going, and he's doing all this stuff, and she's reading the book and she's being very creeped out, and as she's reading the book, somebody starts following her. Somebody starts stalking her, and she doesn't know if it's just some crazy guy or if it's the actual madman from the book has escaped into reality and is coming after her and starts doing the stuff that he was doing in the book.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like the Dark Half, if you ever read that book or seen that movie, where the things in the novel start to actually happen. What was the other one that I was about to bring up that it reminded me of? Crap, I forgot. Anyways, but yeah,
about the writer that was, I can't remember.
Yeah, there's another one about a writer.
One, I thought.
Yeah. But no, it's a legitimately creepy movie.
Yeah, it's a fun, nasty little movie. It's quick. It's like 89 minutes. It's in, it's out. It's got a great performance both from the lead and from the crazy guy. it's, I don't think anybody in it actually went anywhere. I don't know if they've done anything else, but you can pick it up from our good friends at Shout Factory.
You really do need to get like some profit returns on Shout Factory. You've given them a lot of love this weekend, so Shout Factory, call them.
As a physical media dinosaur, they feed my addiction.
It's true, and they really do put together really great packages. Because quite frankly, a lot of these movies that you're going to try to find, Shout Factory has done like great Steelbox versions and just great presentations. So if you haven't found them, follow Gary's advice. Go check out Shout Factory.
Yeah, and that was my other condition on my recommendations. I wanted to make sure it was stuff people could find, because I'd hate it when people go, "Oh, you should watch this. How do I see it?" You can't.
Right.
Oh yeah, I didn't check that. So.
Yeah. You know what? Sometimes you go obscure because why the hell not? Because you want to tell people about it, and then they can go and find it on YouTube or whatever streaming platform they can find it on. The one that I want to talk about for a moment is one that actually is extremely recent. It only came out just a few years ago, and people heard about it. They thought about it, and then they completely just missed it. It has George Clooney in it, which for me is always a good call. I always enjoy hanging out with
I said Return to Horror High.
No, not Return to Horror High.
Return to the Killer Tomatoes?
Not Return to the Killer Tomatoes. I am talking about Tomorrowland. And if you have not seen Tomorrowland, this is something that is a great movie. It's done by the amazing Brad Bird, who is the creator and director of The Iron Giant. It has George Clooney in it. It has this wonderful young actress by the name of Rafi Cassidy. Very, very English name. And the whole story behind it is Disney says, "Hey, let's make a movie about the Tomorrowland Entertainment Park." And what they do is they actually find this really wonderful plot. And the idea is that in the I think it's supposed to be in the 60s. George Clooney, as a young boy, is trying to go to a science fair, one of these kind of world science fairs. And he goes there and he's trying to get the attention of like one of the big inventors. And the person just will not pay attention to him. So he gets really pissed off and he pulls his invention out. It turns out to be a rocket pack. And he actually goes flying over the inventor's head, and they invite him to come see what they call the world of tomorrow. And what you find out is George Clooney has gone through this, and he sees a place where science has fixed all of our problems. We have found ways of going to the moon. We have found the ability to go far beyond our wildest imagination. And what happens is something horribly goes wrong, and he is kicked out. And there is an apocalypse coming, and he can't stop it because of something he did. And this young girl finds the classic Tomorrowland tea pen that you can buy at Disney. And when you pick it up, you get to see that future. And she's obsessed with making that future become real. So she hunts this guy down. And through an adventure that spans different dimensions, it spans different realities. You got so many crazy things that happen in this movie. It's about how we are always better than our darkest days. We are always one positive step away from fixing everything, as long as we believe in each other and we believe in our ability to overcome anything that is put in front of us. And it is such an inspiring science fictional movie that I tell people, one thing I hate about sci-fi, and I hate this about sci-fi, is it always feeds the bad wolf. And if you don't know this metaphor, it's actually in Tomorrowland. And it talks about there's an Indian shaman, and there's always a wolf that is evil trying to corrupt him, and a wolf that is good trying to help him. Which one wins? And the metaphor is the one you feed the most. Sci-fi feeds the bad wolf all the time, and it rarely rises to the occasion of feeding the good wolf. It rarely says we can be better. It shows us how we are better and then how we screw it up. It shows us how we almost got there and science went awry. It shows us how the giant machine is going to take over and Skynet the shit out of everybody, and Tomorrowland says, no, that doesn't have to be how it ends. Tomorrowland is fantastic, and and the fact that everybody's being really quiet tells me that none of you have seen this movie.
Oh, no, I have not. I have merchandise from it, but I
don't. Watch this movie. It is a blessing, and I use that in a very literal sense. I was having a very dark year in 2015 because I was feeling like I see no hope in some of our fiction, and I was able to watch this, and it lifted me up. The same way if you watch the end of The Iron Giant, when the robot goes towards the nuke and he just closes his eyes and all he says is Superman. If that doesn't give you chills, that's Tomorrowland. It's Superman.
Same director.
It's the same director. It's 2.5 hours long of that one scene for me. And I love it. So if you've never seen Tomorrowland, go check it out. They were actually saying in the comments right now, you can find it on Disney Plus. You don't have to pay a dime more than your Disney Plus subscription to find this thing. Go see it. I love this movie. And yeah, so anyways, I needed to hype it up because more people need to watch this. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me get off my soapbox. Corrine, what's your next favorite movie that we've not seen?
So next one, I'm going to completely switch genres because I'm a huge animation fan, and I'll watch just about any anime movie, whether it's in theaters or not.
Okay.
But I feel like this movie, to me, doesn't get enough love. And I think that's because it was overshadowed by a similar Disney film that came out a few years later.
Okay.
And that is The Book of Life.
Yes!
And this movie, anytime I'm having a bad day, I own it. Like, I don't own a lot of films, but I own this movie on Blu-ray. And when I'm having a really bad day, I'm like, I'm going to watch The Book of Life because it makes me happy. But it's an animated film. It is gorgeous, beautiful, just phenomenal. I like it better than Coco. And I know that that's probably an unpopular opinion for a lot of people, but there's where I am. But it's Guillermo del Toro produced it. The cast is, I mean, you've got Diego Luna, Zoe Saldana, and like Channing Tatum's in there too, just being ridiculous. You've got Ice Cube and like Ron Perlman, because anything with Ron Perlman, Danny Trejo, like it's a fantastic cast, and it's a movie that centers around the Day of the Dead, but really recontextualizes it, I think, for a lot of American audience who think it's Mexican Halloween, but it does a really good job. I mean, people do. No,
I understand. Trust me. As a Hispanic, I get it.
Yeah. And I love it because it really does that great job, because it's about this, for those who haven't seen it, it's about this this sweet, sweet angel baby who is voiced by Diego Luna, Manolo, and he comes from a family of bullfighters. And everyone in his family, every generation has been a bullfighter, and he does not want to be a bullfighter. But what he does want to do is play music and sing to his lady love. And it's fantastic. And of course he goes on this like wonderful adventure in the afterlife. So there's a little bit of romance, but it's so oriented in the family aspect of remember your family, and traditions are there for a reason, but it's okay to do something different with who you are and just be yourself. And I love it. I love it so much. I could just talk about it forever. So it doesn't get enough love.
It doesn't. And I think the big sin of comparing Coco to Book of Life is that they take two different stances on the same day. You know, the Coco is much more about a boy who doesn't understand why family's important. You know, and Book of Life is much more about understanding who you are.
And I don't think we have to pit them together just because they're both Spanish narratives, you know? But I know you're not. I know you're not.
We don't, but I think that people were like, well, I watched Coco, so I don't need to watch another movie about this. And I'm like, no, you don't understand.
Right.
It's different. And it's different and wonderful. And I liked Coco. Coco made me tear up too. I mean, it's...
Oh yeah, that Remember Me song when he
beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful film.
Yeah.
But everybody loves it, and I don't think that Book of Life
they forget about it.
Yeah, I feel like it's forgotten and it deserves more.
So we have a comment real quick from our Facebook group real quick. I'm just going to put this up real quick. Everybody gets a little bit of a love here. Sean, like your DBZ toys. Corrine, like your plushes. Anastasia, like your wood wall. Gary, like your Cthulhu artwork. You know, the DBZ stuff, actually, you can buy those. Those are actually part of our Pop Cycle Baubles sale. If you haven't had a chance to go check that out, we do have a store. You can simply go to it. Here, let me just do my shilling for a second. popcyclebaubles.com and click on the shop button, and you can actually pick those stuff up. So check that out. But thank you so much. We appreciate you. And I love the fact that you went to Book of Life. I think that is a fantastic choice.
Hollywood loves to pit movies against each other that really shouldn't be.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
It's and I think that's really unfortunate. And I just want people to watch this movie and not just to be like, well, I watched Coco, so I understand what the celebration is. And there's just so many different facets to it. And and you're right, Anastasia, that you need, I mean, there should be more films about the same culture. You should continue to do it. Don't just say the job's done. Now that you've got one, you know.
You got the one. What do you more do you want?
One. That's it.
Right.
No.
I gave you one.
Yeah, I hate that. Well, you got that. I hate it when somebody points to one movie and they go, "You got that one." It's like,
but it's like when people, you know, go, "Oh, well, I have a black friend."
Oh,
do you? Do you really?
Do you? All right.
Or are they just somebody you know, and they haven't called you out on your bullshit yet?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. No. You know what? You know when you have a black friend is when you have 10 other ones, and they all haven't kicked your ass for being that tone deaf. If you're able to get away with that line, and you have like 10 or 15 black friends, then you actually have a black friend. If you can't say that line in front of your group of buddies, you don't got a black friend. Okay, you got somebody who just hasn't drop kicked you in the next week.
True.
Somebody going, I have to put up with this cracker at work every goddamn day.
Oh Lord! But Anastasia, let's go back to you. What would be another movie that you would like to pick?
Okay, I'm gonna go foreign with it, you guys.
Okay.
Do it.
So I was gonna go. I won't go British yet. I'm gonna go French. I know you guys are shocked because I've done this before on other panels. I was obsessed with this movie. Le Pacte de Loup, or The Brotherhood of the Wolf, was my favorite movie. Like right out of high school, I looked for posters for it, everything. Like I was obsessed. And then I went down like a huge, like Samuel, I can never say his last name.
Le Bihan, something like that. Yeah.
I watched every single one of his movies after this movie. And I even got obsessed with him so much that I watched He Loves Me, He Loves Me Not, which is amazing. And I made my own version a couple years ago called He Said, She Said, which is an interesting little American take on it.
Well, I mean, yeah. Plus, let's be fair. This is the only movie I could think of that is a werewolf kung fu French film, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what this movie is. If that doesn't make you want to go see that movie right now, it is literally a French kung fu werewolf movie with Mark Dacascos in it. Yes,
historical, like based, horror film.
This movie, I saw it in the theater, and I'm so glad. Any movie where we have an assassin for the Pope who's disguising herself as a madam of a brothel,
and she is gorgeous. She is.
And
perfection.
Yeah, this is peak Monica Bellucci, right? I mean, this is
when she that fan weapon of hers.
Corrine needs a minute.
I think that's the first movie. I really do think that might have been the first movie that like I really noticed her in. You know, because I'd seen her in a few other things, like because she was in Dracula, but that movie, and I was like,
she's the sexiest woman.
Oh goodness, I'm. You know, you just.
Oh, when Manny,
I still remember when she's in the bedroom and she's like, "Uncle." I'm like, "Oh God!" She changed sides.
She's so talented and so beautiful, and yes, like in that film too. I think that was the first movie that I was like, "Oh wow!" She's got such a presence to her.
Yes, definitely.
When Manny comes out of the water and does that thing where he flips his hair and the hair, I was just like.
It's so beefcake, isn't it? I mean, it really is. But, you know, that's what's really cool about this movie is this movie is not only an incredibly intense action film, it's an incredibly intense horror film. It's also incredibly sexual because, you know, that the French sensibility has no problem making people sexual and not making it feel awkward. And that's something that I love about French cinema is that you can have people that can be very strong, aggressive, sexual creatures, and it's not like awkward. Right. You know, so you can do that and you can actually serve multiple masters, so to speak, and have all of these different plates spinning and it feels completely natural. And I love that about this movie.
Just the fight choreography is top notch. The visual style, when they show up for the first time in those leather long coats that button up to here and hello,
so
kitty,
cool.
And they're wearing their tricorn hats. It's stunning.
Yeah, I fell in love. Like, I just thought it was the most beautiful thing. It was like, I watched the last Dredd movie and I cried about how beautiful it was. That's how I felt about The Brotherhood of the Wolf. I shouldn't cry about those things, but that's the kind of thing I cry about, okay? It was stunning visually and I loved it. And I was like telling everybody about it when I saw it because I used to work at the Egyptian Theater, which is the American Cinematheque, which is like this classic theater in LA that does all kinds of. That's kind of the film nerd I am. So we saw it when it came out, like before it came out, like mainstream, and well, as mainstream as it was
right. You know, before it was mainstream, yeah.
Which wasn't. And you still had to go to art houses and stuff like that. And I kept telling people about it, and people just were like, either didn't have access to it or, you know, hadn't heard of it or anything like that.
No, seriously, that is a great deep cut pull. This is what it's almost 20 years old. That was like 2000, 2001, something like that, right?
Let me look.
It was right after America.
2001.
Okay, 2001. Okay, because I was like, I know that it was right around the Matrix. I don't think Revolutions and Reloaded had happened quite yet, or it was right on cusp of that. Because I remember it was a very cool, like 18, 24 months where we were getting a lot of really cool stuff, and I loved all that. But yes, I am a very big fan of this movie, and I haven't even thought about it in years. So that's a great pull, Anastasia, and that's exactly the kind of stuff I wanted to talk about. Are movies that were like, oh my god, yes, why don't we talk more about that movie? So Gary, we're back to you, buddy. The floor is yours. What do we got?
All right, so from a beautiful French martial arts masterpiece romance, the only connection between these movies is they both involve martial arts.
Okay.
This is the most 80s movie that has ever been made. So Sean already knows which one.
I know exactly where you are, buddy.
But yeah, this movie, if you want to know what the 80s are like in a movie, it's not a made in, after the 90s to show in the 80s. I mean, this was a movie made in the 80s that is quintessential 80s. And you want to go full screen on me, Sean?
Hold on. Wait. There you go, buddy.
We are talking about the wonderful classic Ninja 3, The Domination.
Oh my god.
Okay. Ninja 3, The Domination. Oh yeah.
You know what? You're a son of a bitch because you zigged and I zagged. You bastard. I thought you were going Last Dragon on me. And you went to you went to Ninja 3, the freaking Exorcist of the ninja movies.
Yes.
Oh.
So this movie opens with a ninja going to assassinate some guy. We have no idea who he is, but going to assassinate some guy at a golf course. Kills the guy, but all these security guards come out of nowhere, and we have a 15-minute chase ninja fight scene before 30 cops finally show up and shoot the ninja to pieces. But they don't kill him because he's a ninja.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And he makes his way escape, but he's dying. And as he's dying, he comes across our heroine, who is a cable technician.
Yes.
At the top of a telephone pole, running cable lines.
So 80s looking.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it gets worse.
And he possesses her. He passes his soul into her so
with
that
ninja
he can
kung fu. He's like
ninja, so that he can continue his mission because it's not finished. She's not only a cable technician, she's an aerobics instructor.
Yes.
As I can see from the full. Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Checks out.
They're literally okay. This is a movie that not only it's a horror movie, but it's also part flash dance and it's a ninja exploitation. It's so bad, but it's so good.
Yeah. It's and so she falls in love with one of the cops who's investigating, trying to figure out what the hell the ninja was doing there in the first place. It has one of the world's most awkward sex scenes where she's making out with the cop and she cocks open a V8 and pours it down her chest so he can lick it off of her. It's the creepiest thing you've ever seen. They end up going to figuring out what's going on, and they end up going to James Hong, Lo Pan himself.
Yep.
As a Chinese mystic who tells them what the hell is going on. And Shu Khashoggi, who is just one of my acting gods, I love him in his ninja movies, shows up as the good ninja to fight the evil ninja. And it ends with the big fight of trying to cast the ninja out of her. She's got the sword, which glows. It's just... so we got ninjas.
It's a lot.
We got ninjas, aerobics, V8. It's the 80s. If you want to know what the 80s were like,
I'd still go Last Dragon is more the 80s because
they're it's neck and neck. They're both
Teen Witch. That's what 80s is. Teen Witch.
That's fair. That's also fair.
And once again, our good friends at Shout Factory.
At Shout Factory, yeah. But no, seriously, if you want to watch something that is just manic with so many different pulling factors, and it still comes out. I mean, it literally is an exorcism movie for like the last half hour. And she's like in like, isn't she in like one of those straight jackets? And like they have her. If I remember correctly, she's like strung up on chains, and like she's got like pink backlight going on, and they're basically like the power of Christ compels you, but you know, more Japanese themed. It is a very weird movie.
It's a complete ball. It's like they got to the third Ninja movie and they're like, what are we gonna do? I don't know. Let's go crazy. Sounds good.
It really is true. It is a left turn, and that is a great pick. But at the same time, you bastard, I thought we were going to talk about. I thought we were going to go Show Enough, man.
Yeah. Oh, I love me my Show Enough. But
yes,
yeah, I mean, if you like, Don would love it. If you've got, if you like martial arts movies, if you like horror movies, there's a little tiny bit of horror in there. Or if you just love pure cheese,
well, speaking of Don,
it's there.
Don actually said, I almost mentioned this earlier, it's so entertaining. So Don was already there with you, buddy. He was already there. So absolutely. But yeah, we are starting to get to the end of this. And again, we're not going to wrap up quite on time. We're going to let it go a little bit longer because we don't have anywhere else to be. We get to shut down, and then we all get to just be sad that we're done with Pop Con Con. But a movie that I wanted to mention that I really feel, again, it's another Disney joint, actually, that got completely crapped on, and it's a fairly recent movie as well. I felt that considering that the source material is so old, it was one of these movies where I'm like, I don't know if you can bring an Edgar Rice Burroughs, story into the modern setting. And one thing I loved about it was that, and I'm going to get to the title of it here in a second, is they actually succeeded in really kind of modernizing the source material and making it a fantastic movie. And this is a movie that when I watch it, it feels like the first time I watched The Rocketeer, or, movies that just are super high rise. And just like when you get done with that, you are like amped up with the energy. And I am talking of, probably my biggest beef with this flick is the title, which is why I avoid it. The adaptation of A Princess of Mars, and that, of course, is John Carter. I love this movie. Have everybody here seen it, or has everybody avoided it?
I saw it at the Alamo Draft House.
Oh, nice.
It suffered from bad marketing.
Yes. Oh, God, did it suffer from bad marketing.
Really where it failed, because the film is pretty fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. It does have, I think, probably the biggest strike that you have to give against it is it does have something that we actually talked about with Anastasia with Avatar a little bit, was it does have a little bit of a white savior complex. But considering that almost all the Martians look like him, they're basically just a little bit more, they have kind of like a red tinge to their skin. It's not quite as obvious, but it definitely is a stranger in a strange land kind of story.
Yeah.
So it is somebody who has come, and because he is from Earth, he has kind of exceptional powers, because the gravity on Earth is a lot less, or a lot stronger than it is on Mars. So he has, by accident, getting kind of like these superpowers. So he's a little bit stronger than the Martians, and he can jump really far. But it is a swashbuckler of a movie. If you like movies like The Rocketeer, or another great one that I think pretty much everybody has seen, The Mask of Zorro. If you like those kind of films, John Carter is your jam. And the special effects are pretty legit. The actors are all in it. Willem Dafoe plays Tars Tarkin, and he is like absolutely crazy. Tars Tarkus. I'm sorry. Lily Collins, who I thought was going to just catapult to the top of everybody's list of we got to have her in our next movie, is playing the actual aforementioned Princess of Mars. And she is amazing and awesome in this. And she has such a great presence in this movie, because John Carter is a Civil War veteran who basically hates the fact that he had fought and killed so many people and couldn't save Native Americans from being wiped out. And he has a lot of really bad guilt because he doesn't like the death that came with all that war, especially on the Western frontiers. So he is basically drinking himself into a stupor and trying to find gold, and accidentally gets transported to Mars. And I won't go into the how and the why, but when he meets the princess, he treats her like you would treat any princess. And she Princess Leia's his ass. Like, he literally has a sword, and he's like, don't worry, I'll protect you. And she takes the sword from him, and she's like, bitch, I got this, and runs off into combat. And he's just like, she took my sword. You know, like, I mean, it's such a great moment. And she is such a wonderful foil because at no point does she ever back down from him. She's always pushing him to step up to her level. And it's never a situation where he's trying to rescue her. Even when he goes to rescue her, she's like, I got this, you know, and I love that about this movie. You also get Tom Strong in this movie. I'm sorry, Mark Strong. I always do that. You get Mark Strong in this movie as the big bad guy. He's kind of like they call him Matai Shang, but he's the faceless man, basically. He's gnarly, and I love him in this.
I'll watch Mark Strong in anything. He's another one of those, and I'm like, oh, is he in it? Okay, yeah,
exactly. You know, and you know what, Mark Strong, like to tell you how great Mark Strong is, he makes the moments where he's in Green Lantern awesome.
Yeah.
When he's in Green Lantern goes from like being like a moderate 4 or 5 to like an 8. And as soon as he's off screen, right back down. I mean, Mark Strong is awesome as Sinestro, and he is fantastic in this. And some of the creepiest moments, he's not even on screen. He can change what he looks like. So he's talking through other people's bodies. And you just hear the smarminess, and it's great. But I would say check out John Carter of Mars. It's so
Disney had no idea what to do with it. They did not market it well at all. And the biggest problem it has is what happens with a lot of groundbreaking genre stuff is like people went to see it and it's like, well, I've seen all this before. Yeah, but this is where it came from.
Yeah, like
this is where it started.
Was invented this. Yeah,
it's like taking a new anime fan and showing them the original Ghost in the Shell, and they're like, I've seen all this. It's like, yeah, but this is where it comes from.
Yeah,
this is where it started.
It really is. It is. But you know, we're starting to get a little long in the tooth here. We're hitting right at the hour mark. But I don't want to go quite yet. So I would love to kind of do some rapid fire suggestions before we start to wrap this up. So I'm just going to start screen left. I'm going to go to Anastasia first, and then we'll hit Corrine and then Gary. So if you have a couple more that you'd like to tell people about and just kind of give them a quick blurb about it, let's hit it. What are some suggestions that you think people should check out that they may not have seen yet?
Well, I think this one's getting a little bit mainstream, but I will always still say it. Attack on the Block needs to
be seen. That was going to be mine too. Yeah.
So needs to be seen. See it.
Yes, definitely.
So relevant, so good. And young John Boyega, baby face. Then on the same horror vein, The Descent. If you want to see a woman's trip go really bad,
watch the British cut.
Yes, absolutely. And I also watched the sequel, and the sequel wasn't. I would watch the sequel too. I don't, it's not whatever. Anyway, I'm not a sequel hater. And then my last one is because, again, getting a little bit mainstream because of the TV show. But just because you're watching the TV show, don't forget to watch What We Do in the Shadows. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good.
And you know what, Anastasia? I haven't actually watched What We Do in the Shadows yet, the show, because I haven't seen the movie yet. It's been on my list for years. And
I'm so disappointed in you.
Look, the reason why I haven't is because I've been saving it for when I'm feeling really down. And I know that that's going to make me feel really happy. I just know it is. So it's literally, you know what? November 4th, 2020, if things go badly, I'll probably be watching What We Do in Shadows. But I hope it goes well. I hope I have a pleasant outcome. And that's the politicals we're going to get on that. But so that's
why you don't have to either or it.
Yeah.
You should watch both. True. I mean, like,
people have told me I could just watch the show, but I want to be curious about it. I want to see the movie first because I know the movie, was where it started from, and then I want to go into it. So, but yeah, it's on the list. I'm going to watch it.
Good. Do it.
Those are good.
Now we'll wait.
Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so give me like what an hour and 45 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, we'll be right here.
All right, great. No problem. We'll talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back.
So you guys,
I'm playing. Okay, Corrine, how about you? What are some rapid fire suggestions that you have?
Okay, so definitely, Attack on the Block was one of my lists because I love that one. I also want to do. My cat is sitting on my notes right now, so
if you want to see the cat, it's okay. We like seeing a kitty. Let's see the kitty.
Really love. He's rubbing on the laptop. He's real busy. You can see his tail. I love Mayhem. That was like mid 20-teens that has Stephen Yoon and Samara Weaving in it.
Yes.
Love that one. That's a great he's sorry. a great one for a kind of interesting thriller horror premise trapped in an office building with a really good premise. Also really like Delicatessen.
Yeah,
French film.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Post-apocalyptic in cannibal story. It's wild and great. Also,
and easier to take than Raw, but also
much easier to take than Raw. Comedy. It's comedic post-apocalyptic, so that's always really fun. And documentaries. I love documentaries. There's a documentary called The Barkley Marathon.
Yes!
The race that eats its young. It is about a marathon, but it is unlike any marathon you have ever heard of, you've ever been to or seen. It is this wild, crazy event that takes place in the wilderness of East Tennessee. And it is 100 miles. So there's 20-mile loops for this ultra marathon. And this is an ultra marathon to give all other ultra marathons. And it's technically 100 miles, but every year the owner, the creator of it, adds or subtracts different features. So you're basically doing 5 marathons by the time that they do it out. It's a hilarious, really, if you want an uplifting documentary about a bunch of people that are really, because you're not racing against other people. You're trying to beat, and his name is Lazarus Lake, who made this marathon. You're trying to beat Lazarus and his crazy, crazy marathon for you. So I definitely would recommend that one if you like documentaries that are fun.
I actually watched it on her recommendation, and I am such an advocate of this movie. It is so good. And what's interesting about it is the thing that they don't even really talk about until you get about halfway through it is that there is also an altitude issue with this. You're going basically up. If you do the whole Barkley Marathon, all 5 circuits, you basically have gone up Mount Mount Everest twice. That's how bad the elevation is doing this circuit. And people rarely get past the second or the third round.
Yeah. If you get 3 rounds, you do a fun run. It's
right.
Watch this documentary. It's fantastic. I think it's still on Netflix. That's a great one. And the last one is, of course, the Vengeance trilogy. Old Boy, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and the Lady Vengeance. Lady Vengeance. Yeah. Very disturbing and fantastic movies. Done by I can't remember the director's name for the first one, but they're great. They're absolutely great.
Absolutely. Yeah. Those are great picks. I love all of those. So Gary, what's up? What do you got for us, buddy?
All right. So to close this out, I'm going to do my quick list. The first one I'm going to recommend is Dog Soldiers, which is one of the best werewolf movies ever made. It's the
another good werewolf movie.
Yeah, the same guy who did The Descent.
Yes.
And it's all male cast instead of an all female cast.
Yeah. And it's got one of my favorite characters, Spoon. Yeah, if you've seen the movie, you know Spoon. It's just like, you're a madman.
Spoon is great.
But it's aliens meets werewolves. Then I mentioned this earlier today in the B movies. It's Full Moon's only zombie movie, The Dead Hate the Living. There's this one scene where one of the protagonists is trying to figure out what to do, and he's trapped in a room, and he's like, okay, what would Bruce Campbell do? And then pivoting away from horror, The Road to El Dorado is one of my favorite animated movies ever.
Yeah,
I love the fact that the main cast recorded together so that they played off each other. I think it's Brenna and Kevin Kline, and they just have a chemistry that's joyful. I love that movie. I wish we'd gotten more, but it's a beautiful little gem. And Anastasia mentioned this earlier, Dread. I don't think enough people watched Dread.
Not nearly enough people, because if they did, we'd have gotten a damn sequel.
Yeah, and we needed that sequel. Yeah, and I'm going to close this out with another one that hits all of my buttons. It's a pulp adventure, Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow.
That's a fun one. Yeah,
I remember when before it was coming out, and I was watching all the trailers, and I was telling my friends the only thing this movie needs to have for me to be perfect is dinosaurs. And I go to see it, and there's a Lost Island and dinosaurs, and I was just like,
I like that. I like the Kermit flail. That was awesome.
Yes.
But no, Sky Captain is another great one. Those are all fantastic suggestions. I do have 3 real quick that I'm going to fire off. We actually had it in the pre-roll. I definitely suggest if you haven't seen it. And I'm amazed at how many people haven't seen Alex Proyas's follow-up to The Crow, which would be Dark City. If you have never seen Dark City, it is absolutely amazing. It's got Jennifer Connelly at peak Jennifer Connelly in like a crooner 40s kind of vibe. I mean, she's just killing it in this movie. You got Kiefer Sutherland as like this mad doctor who's in there. You have Rufus Sewell. In my opinion, or Sewell, I think it's Sewell how you say it. In my opinion, probably his best role to date. And it's basically about a man who wakes up in a city that never sees the sun, and how every day he notices that things are different, and he's afraid that he keeps murdering people. And he's trying to find a way out of this. All he wants to do is go to the beach, and he can't escape.
Not all we want to do.
Yeah, right. Another one that I want to suggest, because Gary psyched me out with Dominion, is The Last Dragon, which I was actually incredibly lucky enough years ago to be set up next to Timac, who is the star of that movie, during New York Comic Con, and he played the Last Dragon soundtrack on loop the entire weekend, and it was delightful. Corrine, I think you were there for that one, weren't you?
No, when I was there, he was there, and like for some reason I talked to him for like 45 minutes one day, and he was great. He was fantastic, and we just were talking. But I love that movie, and I love him.
It's so good. And for those of you who don't know and somehow haven't seen this, Gordy Berry, who of course, is of Motown fame, basically said, you know what, I want to start getting to movies because not only, it was Motown there to, really bring apart, just this wonderful black wave of creative musicians. He was like, we could do the same thing for movie makers. And so he was like, what does the black community embrace in a big bad way that most people overlook? And he was like, kung fu movies. So what would happen if an entire generation of 70 kids basically grew up and they love kung fu, they love karate, they love all of this stuff from the East, and we made a movie about that. And so this kid basically has become a kung fu master, and he's trying to learn how to attain essentially Zen. They call it the glow. And he's in the middle of Queens. Essentially, he's just trying to make his way through the world. And the problem is that everybody knows that he's so good. So his constant rival is the biggest, most amazing, bombastic, he's almost Darth Vader-esque in presence, and that is a guy who calls himself the Shogun of New York.
Who is the Shogun of Harlem?
And that is Sho'nuff, and it is amazing. And basically, it's Sho'nuff versus Bruce Leroy Green. And Vanity from Prince fame is basically kind of like the heroine of this movie too. You cannot go wrong with this movie. An amazing soundtrack. The song that people really remember from this is actually the Barge song, Rhythm of the Night. If you've ever heard Rhythm of the Night, this was the movie that basically started it, and it went off from there. But so my last movie, and I'm hesitant to say it because then we have to wrap. Damn it, I don't want to, but I'm going to, is a movie that I just discovered a couple of years ago, and I've been just praising the hell out of it. It came out, let me see, I think it's about 2015 is when it came out, and it actually stars Nick DeManchi, who was also in Stakeland, and it is about a blind Vietnam veteran who goes to a retirement community and finds out that a werewolf is stalking the people here because people will not miss these people if they just vanish. And it's called Late Phases, and it is a phenomenal movie. If you've never seen it, it's a blind Vietnam vet who basically his neighbors start to disappear, and he is like, I will not let this happen, because he realizes it's a predator, and he thinks it's like a wolf or something, and he finds out, oh shit, it's actually a werewolf. And so it's this just old man who's desperately trying to save his neighbors from getting eaten by this creature. So good. I was truly blown away, because it sounds ridiculous when you hear it, and then when you watch it, you completely buy into the premise.
It's on Amazon, isn't it?
I think it is on Amazon. It used to be on Shudder as well. I don't know if it's on Shudder anymore. But you cannot go wrong with Late Phases. Absolute, just I love that. And I can't believe I have to say this, but we're at the end of our time. We hit the wall. We're done. This is it. Corrine, Gary, Anastasia, thank you so much for being on the last panel of Pop Pop Con Con.
Thanks for having me.
I loved this conversation. I knew it was going to be a great note to go out on. And for those of you who have been watching all of this, because I know some of you have been here for almost every panel, I thank you so much for coming and hanging out and commenting in the wall in the comment section. It has really just shown us how supportive everybody has been. And if you missed some of them, don't forget that you can go over and watch this on VOD, either through Facebook, through Twitch, or even on YouTube, just by simply going to popcyclebaubles.com and clicking one of the icons for that. It'll take you straight to it. This has been such a great experience. I cannot believe that we're at the end of this weird virtual con, and I'm so sad about it. But at the same time, I'm so happy because this was a weird experiment. This was a goal that Laura and I made back in basically April. And this was how we were going to motivate through 2020 without any conventions. We said, if we have this as a goal near the end of the year, we can continue to make product. We can open up an online store for a little bit of time, and we can give ourselves something to be productive through a time where I think a lot of us have all felt that lack of productivity because we've been stuck in our houses. And this was absolutely a lifeboat for us creatively. And I'm so glad that not only were we able to accomplish this goal, but I really feel like we were able to accomplish what we wanted to. I think that we were able to produce something that folks who have seen it will tell their friends about it and say, hey, it's completely free. Go watch it. And if you have done that, please spread the word about this, because I would love for more people to discover this. So that way we can come back and maybe do it in 6 months or a year, because you know what? It's pretty easy to set this up, but I promise if we do a part 2, like in the next 6 months, we'll only do like maybe 4 panels, like on a Saturday, and we'll break it up more so we don't like make everybody go crazy.
Won't work Corrine to death.
We won't work Corrine to death, or we will, and she'll be on all 4 panels. I don't know.
All 4 of everything.
But I really do want to say thank you to everybody. It means a lot to us, and I'm really grateful to have had such wonderful friends and new friends who have I've now made relationships with, and I cannot overstate that. And in fact, I'm going to try to get Laura to come over here for a second. Do you want to say a word real quick and kind of tell people, hey? She's been behind the scene the entire time here. I'm going to give her a headset here real quick.
Come down low.
Yeah, come down low. Come sit with me. Yeah. So. But hey, sweetie, how you doing? So, but do you want to say anything to everybody before we start to say goodbye?
No.
You know what? You gotta love
I don't speak so good.
Yeah, my words, they know good.
They are.
No, you have wonderful words. I love your words.
I'm the worst. I'm like Rambo in the first Rambo.
Right.
No, that was Rocky.
I think that was Rocky. I don't think
Rocky.
That
was Rocky and Rocky 1, who was trying to ask out Adrian. He's like, I don't have the best words, but I really like you.
You know what? That's actually a good thing you can say to the audience. I don't have the best words, but I really like
you. Yeah, that's pretty much me.
Right? You know, so yeah. But yeah, honestly, I'm so proud of her. If you guys haven't had a chance, I'll take this back from you so I don't have to put you on the spot anymore. But if you haven't had a chance to go look at the store, even if you don't buy anything, please go look at all of this amazing work. Almost every listing in our Etsy catalog that is not one of the pixel bits, like you see back here, was made by Laura, and she made it over this year when she was feeling down low and just feeling lost creatively. In fact, Corrine, we were talking about this before we went on the air. So many of our friends we know that work the convention scenes, we've just kind of been lost, you know, because we haven't been able to see our friends and do the creative stuff, and it's sad, you know. And I miss that. So that's I'm glad we're able to do this. But you know what? I think I've sappied it enough. I think I've made it enough of a and I really do appreciate you. Oh, here's one from Merv. Here you go. Merv, Merv, literally, I've known this guy since like third grade, something like that. Like since we were like little bros, right? And what's funny is that we've come in and out of our lives
Rambo, but
times.
Starring Rocky.
But
no, Rambo and Rocky are not the same personality.
they definitely are not.
Rocky is like way more opportune, like optimistic.
Yes, he is very much more.
Rambo
optimistic.
is just like, I will just burn it all down and sort it out when I'm done.
Yeah, he's a nihilist. He's definitely a nihilist. But by the way, Nightwing just said in the chat, I believe that's our friend Calvin. He's going to go look at the pixel bits. Don't forget that the photos are over on the Discord page.
Yeah,
so if you want to align that, Laura.
Yeah, so head over to our Discord, and we have a channel in there for pixel bits.
Yep.
And then everything is broken down into different categories, and that's how you'll know what the SKU is over on Etsy.
Yeah.
That way we didn't, because I'm not going to list names put in images on Etsy because
Right.
I don't want to get like IP takedowns and stuff. So
it's our workaround.
We wanted to do it in a way that would CYA a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. And sometimes that's what you have to do.
A little pixel bit.
Little pixel bit, but yeah. So if you just go to one of it'll say Pixel Bit Collection exclusive on Discord. If you click on it, the link to the Discord's right in the description.
I'll drop our Discord
and Laura's going to put the Discord in there. But yeah. So again, thank you so much, Anastasia, Corrine, Gary. I almost called Gary Rambo. I literally almost did that. Thank you so much. I would love to give everybody.
I can totally see Gary running around in the woods, wrapped in a carpet with a knife in his teeth.
I can see that. Yeah, I can absolutely see that.
It's like no.
But let's go ahead and get out of here. I want to give everybody a final word. So does anybody have any final thoughts before we get out of here? We'll start with Gary, and I'll just randomly pick somebody else.
Final word is rutabaga, because
Fair
it's just
enough.
a good word.
It is a good word. How about you, Corrine? Any final words?
I think one of the most fun things for me as being kind of a movie buff, especially in genre, is having these discussions and finding things that I've never seen that are just, oh my God, this is my new favorite movie. Thank you for introducing it to me. So this for me was a really fun experience because we get to talk about these things that no one else has seen, or if they have seen them, they get just excited as you do to see them.
Yeah. Absolutely. And now that I remember the movie and I haven't thought about it in so many years, Anastasia, I'm going to go back and watch Brotherhood of the Wolf again. Damn it. So I'm ready to go watch Brotherhood of the Wolf. I'm ready for it. But final words from you, please.
Final words. I mean, that feels very final.
Just for the show.
Okay. Oh, thank you all for listening. It was really fun to collaborate with all these amazing people and meet them. And I have lifelong friends now. I love it.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, thank you to my excellent panel. Thank you to my wonderful Pookie. Thank you to the puppies for being so well behaved this weekend. Big hearts all the way around. We love each and every one of you. Thank you so much for making this such a successful, amazing, entertaining weekend. We're going to get out of here and we're going to go cuddle in the bed and watch something. I don't know. We're going to watch some comedies or something.
We need to play with these poor dogs.
We need to play with the dogs.
Neglected.
They have been neglected. We're going to go do that. Thank you all so much. And we will see you soon on the broadcast. So before I get out of here, let me give you the advice we always give before we sign off. Make sure if you're going outside,
wash your hands.
To wash your hands, wear a mask, use some hand sanitizer, take care of yourself and take care of each other.
And vote for Biden.
Really? I mean, I don't disagree with that at all, but really, we went the whole weekend without really going there. And
I had to do it.
She had to do it. But anyways, we're going to get out of here. Thank you all so much. We're going to see you next time, and take care. I can't